Hello and welcome to Courageous Conversations.
We're here to talk honestly about race, faith, and what it really means to love our neighbor at all costs.
Each and every episode, we are going to sit down with friends and leaders from across Kansas City to share stories. We're going to ask hard questions and we'll laugh a little bit along the way.
To unite people, unite neighborhoods, and eventually unite KC. Let's jump into today's conversation.
All right. Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. No matter where you are or what time zone you're in, you have hit the podcast of the year. This is Unite KC's Courageous Conversations. I was doing too much. Courageous Conversations podcast. We are so glad that you're here. We are bringing topics to you that you may not normally hear, but Gary and I talk about them, and we've got friends here today, special guests that Gary's going to introduce, but first he's going to do a little podcast cleanup. So.
Yeah. Should I clean up how we say courageous conversation?
Yeah, please clean that up for me. Yeah.
Hey, thank you for joining today, for Courageous Conversations, where we dive into subjects that we think should be talked about more than they are. And our belief is that if we can broach the subject, break the ice, if you want, then you'll feel more free about talking about these things to others. Maybe you share the podcast and then talk with a friend about the podcast. You can find these on Apple. You can find it on Google Play. You can find it on YouTube. You can certainly find it on the Unite KC website. It's unitekc.org. And today we're really glad, there I go, to have Marvin Daniels with us. So Marvin is the director of the Hope Center. And Marvin, we have looked forward to, from the very beginning when we talked about this podcast 6 months ago.
Yes.
Like, who do we want on this podcast? You were at the top of the list.
Oh, I appreciate
we just really respect what you do. And maybe take a moment for those who don't know you and just share a little bit about you and your family. I know that the work you do at the Hope Center, you actually do it as a family. Your wife, Angie's, she's a rock star,
yes.
And we should have her on the podcast sometime.
Yes.
But yeah, share a little bit about your family, and then we'll get into what you do and why you do it.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It's good to be here with you guys.
Oh, yeah.
First of all, I get the privilege of being married to my queen, my Carmel queen, as I call her, Angie Daniels, for 35 years.
Wow.
In our union together, we have 5 adult children.
Yeah.
Malachi, Isaiah, Micah, Imani, and Nia. And then that, for us, birthed what we call our bonus children. My daughter-in-love is Janessa, and my son-in-love is Marcus. And so it's been a joy just to have the Daniels 9 now together here in Kansas City. And that's even the blessing, is being able to have all your children here in one location.
It
and
is.
really spread throughout the city.
When I've been over to your
them.
place and I'll run into one of them, it's just, it warms my heart to see that they have passion like you do, which I think speaks highly of the way that you and Angie live your life.
Yeah, yes, it's the ability to be contagious in our lifestyle with our own children is as critical as our ministry and outreach to other children. And so God just knew what he was doing when he brought a Brooklyn, New Yorker with a Chicagoan and told the two to become one. And that's been a blessing.
That's awesome. And moved to Kansas City.
And now we
What a
moved to
bonus
Kansas
for
City.
us.
Yes.
So
yes.
any grandkids yet?
Well, we have one that is due in May.
Oh,
There you
boy.
go.
Mike and Janessa, and so we're excited about that. And
You thought you had fun before. You wait.
so I always
Grandkids.
hear about the grandparents' story.
Oh, my goodness.
And we've had the privilege of being able to babysit several of our friends' children
Yes.
and their kiddos, and so it's been a real good practice.
There you
But
go.
It's not like being daddy or granddaddy to one of your own children. So
Yeah.
we look forward to that.
Well, Marvin, let's just hit it right on the head because, you know, what you've done in a few square miles of our city has been just revolutionary. And as a guy who's from Kansas City, I have watched the revitalization, the renewal, the restoration of hope, you know, not to use a pun there, but of hope in that area, to the point to where, and I'll let you talk about it, one of the most recent success stories is the creation of the new Hope Center, which is a veritable Taj Mahal. That's what I call it. I mean, when I walked in, I was like, what happened here? This is like walking into one of those Roman Catholic churches and everything.
It's
but
beautiful.
Why don't you start with just how and why you came to Kansas City, and we'll dive into what's going on now with that with the Hope Center.
So God has given me the opportunity and the privilege to be able to be in urban centers all around the country. I've had, being one who's been born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, that was the catalyst in itself. It was the foundational principles of me growing up in a multicultural community context, as well as being able to grow up in a homogeneous context. And so it gave me the breadth, if you would, of really understanding this call of what urban is, the context of urban, and I'll allude to that a little bit later. But I remember in my junior high years, I would sit there by the window in PS 52, and I would look and see the planes taking off at Kennedy Airport, and I always used to just daydream and wonder, where are they going? And so I've had the privilege over these last 40 years of being able to be in a plane and hit 48 of the 50 states.
Oh, man.
And so I'm really blessed by that. And so when we coming to the Hope Center was part of the journey. I've had the opportunity to work with Young Life and Covenant House, the teen runaways, teen prostitutes. I've youth pastored in Boston and youth pastored, in Chicago, and have had the opportunity, youth pastored in New York, and have had the opportunity to serve as the violence prevention coordinator for the Boston Public School System. I've had the opportunity to serve in Chicago with the Salvation Army, in the Rockwell Gardens and Henry Horner community as their program manager over 27 different programs from children, or I should really say from preschool to senior citizens. I've had the opportunity to work with Compassion International and serve as their Midwest regional facilitator, have an opportunity to do child and youth development practices and principles and inculcate those practices and principles in the lives of youth workers in 15 different cities in 7 states. And then working with Kids Across America camps as their Vice President of Leadership Development and doing leadership training and having a program like Higher Ground, which was a 3-year program where people will learn the love and the life and the lessons of a servant leader. We did local missions, urban missions, and international missions.
Wow.
And then I've had the privilege of being in Vienna, Austria, and Slovakia, and Papua New Guinea, and Rwanda, and Nigeria, and just being able to share these principles of youth development and learning them as well. And so what drew me to Kansas City originally in 87 and 88 was going to Nazarene Theological Seminary and studying their Master in Urban Missiology
So
program.
wait a minute. I was there at the same time.
No
Are you
way.
serious?
Oh, yeah,
You can't
same
say
years.
that.
Oh, yeah,
Really?
same years. Yes. I don't know how we missed each other.
Especially when I was one of 5 African Americans in the whole program, Gary.
That is awesome.
But that was a wonderful time, and it was a trying time. It was a challenging time for me as well. But what really allowed me to do the things that I do in terms of learning in the context of urban missiology is because I thought I was going to be an urban missionary around the world globally. And so I was doing Young Life clubs on the low east side of Kansas City. And so we would have a program at Van Brunt for both poor white kids and African American kids. We were in Independence doing a Korean youth group that we had there. And then we was on the south side, also Kansas City, doing a youth group for a predominantly African American group. And so it was just a phenomenal time. And then working with the Jackson County Juvenile Court System in there as a counselor for them in their program. So it really, Kansas City, I really became, got to know Kansas City a bit during those times before, you talked about I-71 and all. It was the corridor of Prospect and Truce and just learning those different nuances in this city.
Man, Gary, you see what a rich gift Marvin
now
is.
I understand a little bit more of what I've been observing.
Right. We can't, I hope you realize that the Lord has called you to Kansas City permanently and you're not going to ever leave. Well, I think that's what I'm hearing.
I've always went to every city with that intention.
You're right.
But, coming back to Kansas City was really just a call of God. I had the privilege of teaching and training youth workers all around the country. I'm a part of the DeVos Urban Leadership Initiative, where I teach scenario planning and change management to executive directors and youth workers and pastors. I've had the opportunity to be with the Erickson Institute and learn about child development practices as well, and principles and precepts. So you take all your learning with your experiences that God has given, and have, for whatever reason, He birthed and just caused an agony within me to depart from a place that I love, Kids Across America, and to be in a city where I can now take all my training and to put it into practice in another area of need. And that's what drew me to the Hope Center, because they were once a partner of mine where I would train their staff as well. So I was very familiar with them, very familiar with Chris Jaley, who was the executive director at the time and founder of the Hope Center, and Tammy Jaley. And so it was just a great opportunity for us to really consider a place where our family would be involved. Since Kids Across America, they were intricately involved in the work we was doing there, and they wanted to continue that kind of involvement in the next place that we were to go. And the Hope Center afforded that opportunity.
Man.
I remember going up the stairs to your office and you pulling out this map with city blocks and being so impressed that God had given you a vision for, beyond the one or two buildings that are right there. There's 3 or 4 right there together, but for blocks around that. And talk a little bit about that, because I don't know if everybody sees what you saw, but you imagine not just like a Hope Center, but a Hope Village almost, of like transforming the whole neighborhood. Talk a little bit about that.
Wayne Gordon, who at the time, him and John Perkins, who were running CCDA, the Christian Community Development Association, and of course, Lawndale was the community, the west side of Chicago, and I was there at the time that the youth pastor, Phil Jackson, was there. We both came to the city at the same time, and ironically, Phil was coming from Kansas City, to Chicago. And so
the coach of the Bulls.
No, not the coach of the Bulls. Even better.
Not that Phil.
Phil was a good brother as a youth guy, and still is. And so you start looking at things more comprehensively. For a long time, we thought about youth ministry from the perspective of just the child themselves. And so we concentrated on helping to disciple and to develop and to evangelize young people. But we forgot that young people actually come from a context. Their homes, their families, no matter what they look like, they still come from a context. Rather they are foster parents and they go to foster homes, or rather they're coming out of juvenile. And so we recognized quickly in the midst of that coming to Kansas City, I came with a 15-year perspective for what I wanted to see, that I thought God laid on my heart, about a comprehensive strategy of youth development. And so I looked at the original vision, which was to develop healthy communities where the vulnerable can flourish. And I said, well, one of the things that in order for the vulnerable to flourish is they really need hope. And so I added the word to develop healthy communities where the vulnerable can have hope and flourish. But we had to be honest, there's a lot of cute vision statements out there.
Sure.
But we had to be honest, how do we go about that? And the Hope Center is just one of the main tentacles in the communities that represent Santa Fe, Oak Park, Palestine, Ivanhoe, and the key coalition communities. There's others that contribute just as well. But we came with a mindset that would be more comprehensive in nature. So when you identify the Hope Center, you identify it as a youth development organization and as a community development organization. We do both. And so we realized that just because why youth development is significant and important and discipleship is important is because you can build new houses, but they don't guarantee good homes. So in order for us to see those two pair each other and partner together, is that we really wanted to focus on the family, not just youth themselves. So we had to take some risk that involved, and part of the risk was we moved from being an organization that was taking their buses going out to get kids, and decided that we would not do that. We will not do anything for families that they can do for themselves. So we decided that if they wanted to come to the Hope Center programming, then the families had to bring them.
Got to
Yeah.
make a way.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, that was a huge risk. That was really unheard of. You know,
Right.
when people wanted to
Right.
do things with young people, they would go get them.
Right.
But we felt like if we could get the parents engaged, because you will never have sustainable community by youth alone.
Yeah.
Right.
It requires families.
Right.
Yeah.
And so families for us was essential. And so when we stopped going picking kids up, guess what? Grandma brought them, granddad
Right.
brought them, auntie,
Right.
uncle, mom, dad, foster parent,
Right.
flavor of the month,
Right.
whoever,
Yes.
they
Yeah.
all came,
Right.
and we got a chance to meet them. We got a chance to build relationships with them. And as a result, the strength of our organization is our families.
Yeah.
We know the parents. We're highly engaged in the family life. And as a result of that, that's what supports the work of the Hope Center.
Yeah.
And so we do.
It's beautiful.
The families led the organization in terms of what we chose to do next. We knew there was a crisis with health care, but the families really made that crisis known. And as a result, in 2009, we founded a neighborhood health center
Right.
called Hope Family Care Center, which does general medicine, pediatrics, dermatology, phlebotomy, mental health services, nutrition. And they're thriving there, right there in a Prospect Corridor
Right.
on 31st
Right.
in the Linwood Shopping Plaza area.
Yeah.
When the schools closed and they lost their accreditation, and many of the schools, particularly elementary schools, closed and the middle school closed, it was the parents that approached the Hope Center that
Yeah.
said, we want a school to open up for our kids. And because we had took over the former Annunciation Church's
Right.
campus, where
Right.
they had a school building that was really the community center that was being utilized, we had to put in over $300,000
Yeah.
to remodel back the
It looks
building so that
beautiful
it would be
now.
a school
Yeah.
again.
Right.
So 2011, we found Hope Leadership Academy. And so you have Hope Family Care Center, Hope Leadership Academy. Then I was able to acquire some land across the street on the corner of Benton and Linwood so that we would begin to address some of the issues of the food desert that we were in.
Right.
And that's when, in partnership with Santa Fe, we were able to do Benton Community Gardens, where Santa Fe
Right.
provided for us a master gardener. And we had the opportunity to not only acquire the land, but now provide volunteers and the resources needed in order for this garden to flourish. And so knowing those things were what we needed to do, we recognized, man, we need to see more and more young people get involved. We actually transitioned from a predominantly white organization to a predominantly black organization. And now we get a chance to be a multi-ethnic organization
go.
today.
Yeah.
And being a part of that, we wanted to develop an internship program. So we needed to find places where individuals can live in a community and be able to learn these community development practices from the lens of a Christian perspective. And so we purchased 2 homes where we were able to acquire those to be able to have our men's staff and our ladies' staff be able to live within the neighborhood. And then we purchased a 3rd home in order for it to be utilized for young couples to learn how to become homeowners.
Yeah.
Man.
And then the biggest thing, of course, as you alluded to, was the Gathering KC, our new event venue and program venue, where we rehabbed the
beautiful.
former Annunciation Church and invested $7 million in private funding to be able to make this thing happen. And now it is a beacon in the community.
It
Yes, it is.
It is a dispenser of life. It's what we call the place where memories can be made out of moments.
Oh, that's
Man,
nice.
that's
And
real
so
good.
that's been a joy. And now we got 30 contiguous lots around the corner, and we got a grant to begin the start of
that's
21
wonderful.
homes that we want to be.
I remember driving down the street with you, and you were pointing out the lots that you had your eye
Yes,
on
yes.
in those days. So you have them now.
and wanted to keep acquiring across the street. We know we needed parking, so we were
Right,
able
right.
to purchase 3 burnt out homes from a guy who owned it in Miami.
Okay.
And then we demoed those buildings so they would no longer be eyesores in the neighborhood. And hopefully now we're working towards being able to create parking, off-street parking.
Nice.
Hopefully for 100 vehicles.
It's really needed.
So that we can be
down
able
there,
to utilize that.
Yeah.
Yes. And
Well, Marvin, this is, first of all, if you are one of our listeners, you have got to go to their website
Yes.
and check out
Yes.
they have so many programs, so many things that are not just little token things, but they are really transforming and benefiting our city.
Yeah.
And so one of the things you
inspiring.
might have, kind of came to the conclusion is that Marvin's a visionary. He's a cash cow. He's got unlimited funds, and he can just walk into an area and without any resistance at all, just build a utopia. So Marvin, I do have a question along those lines. You know, when we start talking about areas that have been neglected, areas that have been typically looked over, it would have been so easy for that to have turned into an eyesore, a place of crime and stuff. Tell us about any opposition you had with this big vision to bring into predominantly Black and brown community this idea and this oasis of hope.
Yeah.
I mean, did you just walk through the tulips?
Yeah, I wish all that was true. But you know, the reality is that I came with a certain perspective of how do you assess your community. So we call it community exegesis. You look for the resources that already exist within your community. You don't come in with a Messiah complex. And so I never came in with a Messiah complex. My first order of business was to meet with all the churches in the community.
There you go.
You know, and so I met with every pastor in our community. And be able just to hear from him and to hear what the burdens was and the joys was and to see how they were doing the work that they were doing.
Yeah.
And then I went to every church that our staff went to, you know, to find out, you know, where they were going and where they were attending. And then I had to go to every partner church we once had, because I entered into a time where the Hope Center had imploded and we needed to rebuild. So I had to go to every former church partner that we had and really begin to introduce myself and to start forging relationships. And then to do that with our community agencies that were in our neighborhood.
Right.
And so that took time. You know, I spent less time the first year working on programs and more time just forging relationships.
Boy, that's so wise.
That was the most important thing for me to do at this time, is for them to know who the new guy on the block was.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
You know, to know that we were individuals that believed in collaboration and partnership. To let them know that we didn't need to have the Hope Center's name on anything.
Right.
That we wanted, our ultimate goal was to see individuals have hope and to flourish. And that we recognized that we were a tentacle, not the tentacle in the community. And so we wanted to make sure we kept a humble posture in that way, and that people recognized that we were just team plays to come alongside of. And so we recognized quickly that we didn't want to be silos. You know? And so the community didn't know us in that way. They knew us once upon a time as being siloed like the rest of them. But we had to deal with certain things. You know, the first time, you know, people were breaking into our office building. They were breaking in our cars. They were taking license plate stickers off of our teachers' vehicles.
Yeah.
I mean, it was an ongoing challenge that was taking place during those times and those days. And it just required us to recognize that this was not a place where we run and hide. This was a time where we needed to go even deeper within our community and let them know that we were here for the long term.
That's right.
And that we were serious about loving our neighborhood and loving our community. And we made investments to display that in the midst of our community. And so the community sees us they see us as a safe space, fun place. Yes, they do. And we're grateful for that. That's why we could have this past fall festival. We had over 1,000 people show up. Because they see it in that way. They see all the community outreaches that we do. They see us as that safe space, fun place, a place of people that really care about them. We always want that to be true. But the other aspect was, you know, even when we are seeking to acquire property and acquire land and all, we're a donor-sponsored organization. We don't get money from local government, federal government, state government. We got it from the generosity of individuals, from grants and foundations, from corporate sponsorships that would and from events that would participate in events and events that we do. And those are the catalysts of where our resources come from. And in 2014, when I first came in, it was tough. I looked around and I said, "Man, God, this is tough. This is hard." I had many more other opportunities to be involved in, and Lord, you let me here. And I had a hard time figuring out why. And then I saw kids out around our grounds. They were playing tag, and it was as clear as day where I heard God say to me, "Marvin, tag you it."
Oh,
wow!
And when he said that, I stopped whining and I had
Start
to get
digging.
to work. I had to get to
yes, sir.
And so it's been a good, from where we were then at $400,000 budget to where we are now at $2.2 million today. God's grace is definitely sufficient and it's abounding, but every year has been a hard year to raise that kind of resource. Every year. And you're talking from a guy who never wanted to be a part of organizations where you had to raise support. So this is full circle of God's hilarity, in my life to put me in a place where that's what I do, as well as community development and get a chance to share with young people. And what gives me life is our men's group called Men's Frat on Monday nights. From 7:30 to 9. We eat together from 7:30 to 8, and then from 8 o'clock to 9, we chop it up around the tables on a particular topic. These are young men ages 22 to 73. Wow. Multi-generational, multi-ethnic, and it gives me life.
That's beautiful.
Because all of them are at various stages of life, the various stages of belief systems, various stages of engagement in their homes and engagement in their families, married, single, divorced, and so it's just a joy to be able to help these men in these 4 tenets of rejecting passivity, leading courageously, accepting responsibility, and investing eternally. And that just gives us life as we see 50 men come together, during these times. And so when it comes to what the Hope Center is continuing to do, I just feel like Hope Center is adulting at this point.
Okay.
We're 27 years old now.
Wow.
And I feel like we're adulting. We've been faithful 27 years in the community, and now we're just getting this chance to see things come to fruition. And this has been a hard year. Fundraising has been difficult. It's been difficult for many, and it's been difficult for us as well. But God, in his faithfulness, allow us to do everything that he has called us to do in the lives of families, in the lives of children, youth, in the lives of men. Everything that we need to do in our community and our neighbors and our community partners and the churches that engage with us. And so I am blessed to be in year 11 of a 15-year journey that I came here with.
Well, you know something, you are an inspiration to us. You're 27 years old. We just got out of preschool. We're 5.5, but we made it. They didn't. We made it. So thank you for being a beacon of hope. One of these, like I said, we have aspirations to do really good in the community, and we don't care if our name is on anything too. So you've been wonderful to work with. So,
Marvin, I was talking to Angie a couple years ago, and just happened to talk to her on the day after a shooting. And she was, of course, actually what she did and the way she conducted herself and what she did for those around her was wonderful. And beautiful that God used her the way that he did. But these things happen. So talk a little bit about when you have tragedies like that, how do you respond? And I know prayer was one of the big ways that she responded. She's a woman of prayer anyway. But just talk a little bit about that, because there are difficult things that we have to deal with.
Yeah, and one thing about we as believers, and particularly those of us who are in more volatile community contexts, you got to talk also about the joys that the gospel brings,
Yes.
and the ability to lament
Yes.
simultaneously.
Right.
Let me give you an example. Here we are, it's June. We just celebrate the graduation of our young people. It was a wonderful. We had a teacher from Central High School who was identified as a Teacher of the Year.
Oh, that's
got
wonderful.
the Teacher Year Award. We had 3 students that just completed their master's degree,
man.
so we celebrating our
great.
alumni, and then our students who are completing high school.
Yeah.
And it was a wonderful night from 7:30 to 10:30, just having a great time together. And then everybody leaves to go home, only to find right around the corner there's a family that get into an argument. It leads to a shootout, and 2 lose their life. Right on the same block as our staff live.
Man.
You know, and so you recognize there are times when there's joy that's happening. We celebrate all that God is doing, all that is happening in the lives of our children, youth, and families, and then there's tragedy. You know, we recognize, though, the reality is that this is oftentimes in urban ministry, you're talking about 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or 1 step forward and 2 steps back in the lives of people. You know, if we were just producing sneakers, you know, with a Nike swoosh on it, we can gauge how well we could do, the sizes we serve, how many pairs we've made, and how many deliveries we made and sales we've made. But when you deal with the lives of people are much more fluid, difficult. The human dilemma that God generously gives to us, where we are in process. And so our goal as an organization is to help people connect faith and life. That is what I believe impacts how I behave. When a young man across the street from us was shot and killed, we utilized our facility at the time. The gathering was not built, remodeled yet, and so the school building, we had the opportunity to go. Our neighbor's church provided us opportunity for us to utilize the building. We ordained as ministers. We were able to preach the funerals, and to do that without charge to the family. They let us use the church without charge to the family. We came and held a repast without charge to the family. 500 people shows up. In and out, and our staff served them well.
I'm sure.
And this is what we heard, a person who did not know us. She said, "We know you don't know us, but we're so grateful for how you've loved us." And that's what we always share with our staff. My staff, they come from all over.
They do,
you know, all over the city and from even outside the city. But one of the things that we've learned is I give them an example that is really important of how I want them to conduct, how we ought to always conduct ourselves as a staff. If you go, I went to McDonald's one day a few years ago, and I recognized that when I went to the kiosk to place my order, the person who was helping me was really helpful. She asked me, greeted me well, "Can I help you?" You know, and then she said, I said, "Yeah, I like fries, but no salt on them, you know, and I needed the cheeseburger a certain way and all that." And she was more than happy to accommodate me. Then I go to pay. The person didn't even look at me. You know, just stuck out the counter and to take my card. You know, then I go to pick up my food, and the person said, "Well, since you had such a special order, you're going to have to wait over there until we can bring it out to you."
Oh boy!
The same business, the same organization, the same institute, the same place, and I had 3 different encounters. And I told my staff, no matter what people come with, no matter who they are, no matter who step on our campus, they got to experience the same thing.
That's beautiful.
That's good.
The dignity of humanity and the love that comes from a heart that's surrendered to the Lord. And so no matter who you encounter on the Hope Center campus, on our staff, you ought to get the same experiences.
I love your Juneteenth celebration. You guys do that as good or better than anybody.
That's right.
What a celebration in the community.
You know, always we want to always communicate. Our events is to educate, or to inform, and definitely to inspire or celebrate. You know, and each event that we do, we want to do so. In our youth development practices, we have an event for our families every month. Every month we have an event to bring our families together, and that's just to encourage them always. And yes, they may hear a message from the gospel. Yes, they may hear a great illustration that we give, but it's always to encourage and to remind them how loved they are, and cared for. And then we have our Parents as Partners program is more so to equip. It's to help them, build certain skills or have certain understanding. So when we bring somebody over to teach them about finances, or to bring somebody to teach them about life insurance, or to bring somebody over to help them understand the importance of having a bank account, or to be able to utilize the resource they have in their cabinets to be able to cook nutritious food. That's a part of the practice, of the faith for us, and it's helping individuals to be able to once again recognize that they have a responsibility that they've been entrusted with, and we want to empower those responsibilities. That's why we use Search Institute's 40 developmental assets in our youth development programming, because they provide a framework in how to develop a person's in their skill sets and not to belabor on their deficits. And when you read our Skyline newsletters, you're not going to hear about a lot of the deficits of our community or the deficits of our children. We're always going to talk about the assets, the hope, the hope that they have, how to have interpersonal skills, how to develop time management, how to resolve conflict in peaceable ways, right? When we have dinner, in all our programming, we always have dinner, snacks and dinner. They can't have their cell phones. We just sit around the table and have face-to-face conversations with each other. This may be the only time in the day and throughout the week that's going to happen. But we want to make that happen where they're developing these interpersonal skills and looking in the eyes of those that are across the table from them and be able to listen and to share. Because that's what our responsibility is in cultivating folks with hope and flourish. So let me give you just 5 last things when it comes to the aspect of how we see ourselves. This is our end game of why the Hope Center has accomplished what we're called to do. Of course, when economics is vibrant, right now our community's median income is $35,000. So we want to see economics raised upon our families so that they can have livable wages again and be able to care for their families and to care for their homes. We need to see environment change. We want an environment where people can feel safe when they're going from person to person, porch to porch, walking down the streets without fear. We desire to see the ecclesia, the church, continue to grow and to be vibrant in the community and to get outside the 4 walls and to become entrenched in the neighborhoods that they've been placed in. We want to see good education. So we're engaged in our schools. We want to see teachers believing that students can learn. And that they see it as a call themselves. We want to be able to see students begin to once again respect teachers and to see teachers as vibrant mentors in their lives. We also want to see engagement between adults and students in respectful ways. Between authority figures, we want our young people to respect authority figures, and we want authority figures to respect the dignity of our young people. When we see those things in action, when they come to fruition and they're flourishing and they're functioning, then the Hope Center has done what it was designed to do. And we would need to find another community to help build.
Man, well,
that's beautiful.
Establish.
Well, Marvin, I could tell our time is gone, but we could talk to you another hour about this.
And I could talk about this.
This is a master class.
That's right. Yeah. So thank you for giving us that last word and for giving us an overview of the Hope Center. And Gary, you got anything else?
No, I'm just grateful, Marvin, that you're in Kansas City. And I'm glad we could do this because more people need to know there are ways that they can be involved. And I hope that they will be. It'll enrich their life. I love it when someone can give and at the same time they feel like they're getting more back than they gave.
Yeah.
And I think that's how people feel when they interact with the Hope Center and with you and with your family. So thank you so much.
For Unite KC, Gary and Ray, because of of the unite.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is in your name. It gives us the privilege of connecting and collaborating throughout the city.
It's rich.
Thank you for bringing us to the table.
It's a privilege.
Man. Yeah.
Well, we'll bring it home here and land the plane. But thank you for joining today with Courageous Conversations and the Unite KC podcast. Our guest today, again, Marvin Daniels, and talking about the Hope Center. We would encourage you to like, subscribe, share the podcast so that the word goes further and invites more courageous conversations around our city. God bless you.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Courageous Conversations.
We hope you heard something that encourages you to start these conversations in your own life.
Because when we talk, listen, and learn together, we move closer to uniting people, uniting neighborhoods, and uniting KC.
And don't forget, you can find more stories, events, and resources at unitekc.org.
So until next time, go love your neighbors at all costs.